Welcome to Couch Sessions with Sean Fuller, sponsored by Wild Rooster Entertainment and 24-Hour Banner Service. Go to 24hbanner.com for all your banner needs. Good evening. Welcome to Couch Sessions in Part 2 of Above the Rim.
The last thing, one of the last things that I want to talk about is the wood hoop. And I've had a lot of questions about the wood hoop because the drum kits that I've had out, obviously they just absolutely look gorgeous. Aesthetically speaking, they absolutely make a drum kit look awesome. Kind of like that vintage flair kind of thing. And I actually really dig that. The questions that I've been asked though are, okay, durability, and of course in the durability portion of it, is it going to warp? It's made of wood. Is it going to warp? I think the answer to that's kind of a gray area because it just really kind of depends upon how well you take care of your drum kit. If you're playing outside or if you're playing indoors, you're going to have two variances there as far as humidity and whatnot can take control of that tuning wise. So tuning could become an issue. It depends on how you tune and what you're really playing. If you're playing jazz and your drums are tuned a little higher, but you're playing outside, very well the heat or moisture in the air could detune that drum kit. But that could do that on anything. That could do it for a triple flange tube or a die cast tube. But it's probably going to be more prominent with a wood hoop. I've never had any warp though. I've played many outdoor shows at night when the humidity is a lot, or the heat is during the day is really hot, or even in times when it's been raining outside, and I've never had one warp on me. But that being said, it's not like it sat out in rain. It's gotten moisture on it before, but again, I wipe my stuff down every night and whatnot, so I baby them, and I've never had any of them warp. As far as durability is concerned, I wouldn't, and depending upon what you're playing, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for a snare drum. And this is just for me speaking because again, I use a lot of rim with the snare drum. And depending upon what you play, you might find it to be absolutely awesome, and it can be. I'm not saying that it's wrong to have one for a snare drum. I'm just saying for me personally, it's not something that I recommend for myself because I know how I hit. And in fact, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, I tried the wood hoop deal on the snare drum, and during the middle of a show, I literally broke it, and snare drum done. And I learned several lessons from that, i.e. having a secondary snare on stage with you at all times in case something does happen with your primary was a big lesson learned. So something you can take with you there. But I had it snap in the area of where a tension rod would go in these holes right here. Of course, obviously this is 24 ply maple, and it's very sturdy, it's very rigid, but you start drilling holes into wood for your tension rods and it's going to weaken it in certain areas, and it's usually right around the edges of where the tension rods go. That being said, I've had these wood hoops on my toms and my floor toms for 1.5 years and have not had one issue. Again, I don't use it for the snare drum though. I use it for my toms. Tuning wise, I find that the toms themselves are so much lighter sounding, and there's something about wood on wood on wood, less metal. That just kind of gives it that nice tone, just a really rich tone that I really dig. And you know what? I've used the drum kit in studio, I've used it live, and I've never had any issues whatsoever with any engineer. In fact, most, not just from my perspective or the engineer that I'm using for the live show, but engineers from other artists have noticed the sound of the drum set and they're like, wow, that sounds really good. Is it because of the wood rims? I think that it has something to do with it a little bit. I mean, obviously with my tuning, the drum heads that I'm using Evans heads. You know, depending upon where I'm at, if it's outdoors or indoors or whatever, I'll go from a coated head to a clear head. But either way, my drums sound absolutely fabulous, if I do say so myself. And like I said, I haven't had one engineer ever say anything negative about the drums that I use, just from the sheer fact that they just sound so good. So yeah, that's the wood hoops right there. And again, you know, you can use them on snare drum if you want to, but it's up to you. You use what fits good for you and what feels good for you. Now that being said, one thing that I will say, this is a Dios maple snare drum here. It's absolutely beautiful snare drum. Using a Evans HD dry drum head on top of it, which has the dry vents around it and the EQ ring built into the inside of the bottom of it. I'm using a die cast hoop on it. And one thing that I did notice that I really absolutely love about wood is that sticks on wood for side stick sound sound absolutely phenomenal. I've always had issues in the past, and this was before this little handy dandy thing came out. Issues in the past in studio where you're playing side stick during a ballad or whatever, and the engineer's like, "Wow, could you hit that rim a little harder so that it cuts through better?" Well, I've noticed this is a wedge here. It's called the Groove Wedge. It's been out for a really long time. A lot of you have seen this already, or if you haven't already been using it. I put one on every snare drum that I have, just for the simple fact that I absolutely love the side stick sound that I get through this, and it cuts like a knife. Whether it's live or studio, every engineer again has absolutely loved this little invention. And I don't know that you'll be able to tell the difference with the mic that I'm using today, but using a Vic Firth Extreme 5B stick here, butt end of it. Some guys use the tip of it, but I'm going to use the butt end. And this is the sound that it makes from the stick on the actual hoop itself. This is the die cast hoop that I'm hitting. Now it sounds good, but it's also very muffly. It's a lot of mid to low range sound there, so I can kind of see where an engineer would be like, "Wow, that's okay. Could you hit that a lot harder to make that sound good?" Now, same velocity, same stick on this Groove Wedge for side stick. It cuts a lot better. Sounds a lot better. Again, you know, a lot of engineers will mic from the top and the bottom, and when your microphone is usually, depending on if you're a lefty or a righty, most of the time the microphone is coming in from this angle right over here, so it's not necessarily right on top of where you as a right-handed person would hit the stick to the rim itself. But you go to this thing and cuts so good. Again, it's just a Yamaha Groove Wedge. You can see where it hooks up. Basically, it's just two tension rods that hold it down to the snare drum. And it kind of looks like this once you have it tightened down. Again, just an absolutely cool little piece to have with you. And you can use it for side stick, you can use it percussively. You know, depending upon if you're doing some kind of Afro-Cuban kind of groove or whatever. I've even seen these groove wedges with tambourines built into them, so that whenever you hit them, you get a nice little jingle sound as well. So yeah, so instead of using the wood hoop on the snare drum, even though I liked the way the side stick sounded, but I still, durability-wise, just couldn't hack it. I kept breaking it. This Groove Wedge has kind of eliminated me having to use a wood rim for the snare drum, but I still get to get that nice sweet wood sound out of this Groove Wedge. So that being said, aesthetically speaking, this is a 13-inch tom, rack tom, that has the wood rims on both the bottom and the top, and this is what it looks like. And obviously it's absolutely gorgeous. It makes the drum look, I don't know, to me very vintage, but just so beautiful, and it stands out. You know, chrome usually obviously pops quite a bit too, but there's just something about having those wood rims on top and bottom that just make it look absolutely gorgeous. This is a D-Drum Dios maple 13-inch tom, and I've got the vintage looking lugs on there as well. So it just makes it really, really pop and look absolutely gorgeous. So yes. That being said, experiment. If you want to, just experiment with rims. Like, you don't necessarily have to. Like, if you're using triple flanged hoops right now and you're just like, oh God, I really might want to try this die cast thing, or I might want to try the wood hoops thing. Do yourself a favor. Don't necessarily go out and spend the money on it immediately. Go into a 5-star drum shop or whatever. Luckily for me, I have a few around here. But go wherever it is that you can go that might have like those kind of hoops in stock. Check them out. Take the drum in that you want to take in. If it's a snare drum, take that snare drum with you. If it's a rack tom or a floor tom, take that tom with you and say, man, I really like to try triple flanged hoops. 1.6 millimeter or 2.3 millimeter, or I want to try a die cast hoop on this just to kind of see what it's going to do tonality for me. But bring the drum heads in that you normally use as well, because that's the only way that you're going to get a pure focus on what it's doing to your tom. Try them or your snare drum. Try them one after the other until you figure out what it is that you like, and then go with that, and I'm guaranteeing that you're going to absolutely fall in love with just the idea of doing something different from the norm. You can change up those things, and you will notice whether it's a little bit or a significant change in the tonality of your drum. Again, think of it as triple flanged hoops are going to give you a little bit more open sound. A die cast hoop, I don't want to use the word choke the drum, but a die cast hoop will definitely dry the drum out a little bit. It's going to get rid of certain overtones. It's going to make it a little bit more controlled, if you will. Again, contingent upon what heads you're using as well. The wood hoops for me, I kind of get the best of both worlds. It kills a little bit of overtones, but it also kind of broadens the lower end or the mid range of the drum itself as well. Snare drum wise, I absolutely love the die cast, just because on a snare drum, as you all know, can kind of sometimes get out of control. And if you're like me and you don't like to put moon gel or any of that kind of stuff on your drums themselves, go to a die cast hoop. Go to maybe a 2-ply coated head on top, or what I use is the Evans HD Dry on top here. And you're going to notice a significant change in that snare drum. You can tune it lower, you can tune it higher, but it's still not going to have too many big time overtones. Again, if it's a metal drum, maybe going to this HD Dry thing is also a really good idea, just for the simple fact that a metal drum obviously is going to have natural overtones to it already. So this might dry it up a little bit and get rid of it, and you'll still get that nice fat sound that you're looking for out of a snare drum. I hope that all this has been good for you. I've thoroughly enjoyed sitting here and talking to you, and I hope that I haven't said anything that's kind of either scared you off or turned you away from anything. Definitely experiment, try different things. Also, go to the website, www.SeanFullerRocks.com. Go to the forum, register if you want to know anything about anything, whether it's personal life or touring or whatever, or if it's about drums in general. Let's talk about it. You never know, I might make a video out of it and put it up here as well. So you guys enjoy yourself out there. Thanks again, and keep me informed if you want to know anything about anything. All right?